Yeah, but then you need somebody else. People don't realize. You're constantly. Yeah, well, how does Sonia get there?
Yeah, where do you want to sit?
So she did lose the strike. Okay, Shutter has been discouraging her to say the strike just because you're scared. But, I think that's
Sitting there all by yourself. You remember you.
good for her. I mean, I think it's good for her. But she's and Janet.
There she is.
Yeah. I mean, yes. All of us do.
Good trouble, that's what we call it.
Yes. The heat. But I. That's what's important. But we did have. It was really right. And our mill is so good about yeah, he found like things that I don't like to just sit on the bench and I go to the rest of the and he's just really good. Some of the time. Well, she's
big old
a little bit too much soccer. The rest of the family was crazy about soccer. It was way too much soccer. For my taste.
A place you could go and
Oh, yeah. I mean, but that meant that we weren't like games. We were all watching soccer. And I heard the other today.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Lincoln. I'm Mary Kay Stillwell, a worship associate here at the church. Joining me in the service is Aaron Poor. Aaron, a citizen of Cherokee Nation and a descendant of Irish and English immigrants, will speak to us today on healing the mindsets that separate us and lead the congregation in a tea ceremony this morning. Aaron is a trained art historian, an arts educator, a mental health counselor, a DJ, a sister, daughter, niece, auntie, and friend. She's co-founder and co-leader of the Intertribal Medicine Collective, an organizer of the Nesquithe Prayer Camp, and co-host of KZUM's Intertribal Beats, yeah. Her personal mission is to be a service to her people, Assisting Aaron in the service is Weston Poor, a citizen of Cherokee Nation and a descendant of Irish and English immigrants as well. He's an avid mountain biker, a devoted husband, and a dog dad. And Erin is going to be assisted with the mindfulness exercise by her family, and she'll introduce them at that time. So welcome to this place that means so much to many. We're a beacon of liberal faith here in Lancaster County, a sanctuary of care and community for all who come through our doors. The Unitarian Church of Lincoln aspires to be a loving community, uniting reason with spiritual exploration to transform ourselves and the world. And community begins with welcome. Whoever you are welcome here, and you're invited to be a part of this thing we're doing together. It is hard work, being a church that embraces all people and has no specific dogma. It's the work that can transform the world. So please set your feet flat on the good earth. Let's take a deep breath, and we'll begin. Our chalice lighting this morning comes from the Overland Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Ohio. We light this chalice to find inner peace, love for each other, and faith in ourselves. Also to be welcoming to whoever we meet and kind to all living creatures. So gather around this light of hope as we share this time together. For our first hymn, let's sing together number 352, Find a Stillness. Please stand in body or in spirit. This morning, our story for all ages is The First Fire, read to us by Weston Poor. So kids, come on up, make yourself comfortable. And maybe I should say here that after the story, generally you go to your classrooms. And this time you're welcome to go to your classrooms, but you're also welcome to stay for the story, the sermon, and the tea mindfulness practice that we're going to be doing. Or if you do go to the classroom, we'll give you a heads up, okay? So you can come back if you wish. Weston's going to be reading from over there because he's taller. So if you want to shift over there, feel free to do so. Or not.
everyone can hear me well. All right. The First Fire, Cherokee Story. By Brad Wagnon and Alex Stevenson. Cherokee believed that a long time ago, animals could do many of the things that people can do today. After the world was made, the Creator had placed the sun in the sky to mark the day the animals came down to live on the newly formed land. However, they quickly learned that once the sun went down at night, the world grew dark and cold. To the west there lived a great Thunder and his 2 sons, the Thunder Boys. They saw the difficulty the animals were having. When they saw that the world was dark and cold, the Thunders sent lightning to the animals so that they could have fire to keep them warm. The lightning hit a great sycamore tree on an island, causing it to burst into flames. The animals were amazed by the brightness of the fire and knew that they must have some for themselves. The animals held a meeting and decided that someone must journey to the island and bring fire back for everyone. Raven stood up and stretched, showing off his beautiful white feathers to the others. "I will be the one to bring the fire back for all of us," he proclaimed. However, when Raven flew near the burning tree, the heat from the fire kept him from flying too close. Raven flew over the great sycamore again and again, trying to decide where he could safely land. As he circled over the fiery tree, the heat scorched his bright white wings, turning them black. Defeated, Raven returned to the group where the owls were waiting for their chance to help. Screech Owl shouted, "We won't let you down," while Hoot Owl and Horned Owl stretched their wings to join. Screech Owl flew straight to the tree, determined to get closer than Raven had. Just then, a large blast of hot air blew upward and into his eyes, causing them to become bright red. Watching this, Hoot Owl and Horned Owl decided to team up and get to the tree. However, when they got close, the smoke from the tree was so thick that it nearly blinded them. The ashes carried by the wind made their white rings around their eyes. Hurt and scared, they flew back to everyone else. After watching what happened to Raven and the owls, no other birds would volunteer to fly to the island. After quietly watching all of this, the animals decided to meet again. They talked about how they were still very cold, but they all were now afraid of the fire and the great burning tree. Finally, a small voice spoke up. It was Water Spider. Water Spider crawled to the front of the group, where the other animals marveled at her soft black hair and bright red stripes. They knew that Water Spider was good at running on top of the water and diving to the bottom. Curious, the animals said to her, "We know you could get there safely, but how would you bring the fire back without getting burned?" Water Spider quickly spun a thread from her body and then wove it into a bowl. The other animals watched in amazement as she then fastened the bowl to her back. Water Spider ran on top of the water all the way to the island, knowing that she would not try the top, bottom, or middle of the tree. Instead, she picked up a tiny burning ember from the base of the tree and placed it into her bowl. Then she crawled back on the top of the water and returned to the group with her bowl on her back, safe and dry. When she returned to the group, the other animals cheered for Water Spider. Because of her, they were able to use the tiny coal she had brought back to make a fire that was large enough for everyone. Thanks to Water Spider, this is how fire came to the world. To remember that she was both brave and smart, you will always see her with a Tootsie Bowl on her back. The end.
time and energy into
Reminder,
that, because believe it or
You're
not, that
welcome
does
to
help
go
keep
to
the
your
language
classroom
alive.
and we'll have you back
Wonderful.
for the tea practice, or you can stay here and listen to the sermon and the reading.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I just want to look at everybody's face. It's so good to be together. I'm Judy Hart. I'm a member of your Board of Trustees. I want to offer a special welcome to those who we don't see very often and are here visiting for the first time. I have a few announcements to share as our church community extends beyond Sunday morning worship. I want to remind everyone to take a look at the timeline that's hanging in the hallway outside of the church office. It was created by Dr. Lori Dance and community members as part of Dr. Dance's research with geographically displaced persons. The timeline will be with us through the end of July, so we'll take it down on July 28th. And then we plan to collaborate with Dr. Dance sometime maybe in the fall to do a panel discussion where she can share her research with us, and we'll be hosting that here. So today, after the service at 11:30, we invite you to stay for a presentation about fall prevention. I guess that's on my mind. About fall prevention by Sarah Kepernick, a physical therapist who specializes, I can't even say this word, in geriatric health. Isn't there another way to say aging, right? Okay. Anyway. As part of the Summer Indigenous programming, there are a couple of events this week. On Thursday, July 18th, at 6:30 p.m., we're going to be showing a series of short films that Mary Kay and I found that we thought would be really wonderful for us to watch and talk about. So 6:30 till 8 on Thursday evening. It's a little earlier start time than we usually do, so be mindful of that. And then join us next Sunday for Greg Victor's, the Wichita War Dancer, during and after the service. During the service, he will dance for us and explain what the dances mean. And afterwards, we're going to dance outside, weather permitting. So with Greg, and we're so excited to do that. Also, Devin Baxter and his family will be here after the service next Sunday to sell Indian tacos. So he'll be here from 11 till 1. So you can take him home with you if you'd like. So thank you for, thanks to Devin for saying yes to that. I bet some of you are wondering about the arrival of our interim minister. Anybody thinking about that? Wait, oh, there are some people thinking about it. Well, Reverend Galazin, and I think that's how he says his name, he'll have to tell us for sure. But his first day is August 1st. So there will be more information in the August newsletter and the Friday e-blast. So that's it for the announcements. I'm also able to do Joys and Sorrows this morning. So a central part of our service is the time we join together as a community to mark the moments of our lives. We share with one another our joys, our sorrows, the events that mark the steps on our journey. The threads of sorrow and those of joy are intertwined in the fabric of our lives, present for all and remembered by all. We share those threads, and then they are woven together with those of others in our community. Our joys are shared and magnified, and we are comforted in our sorrows. I'm going to go rogue today a little bit because it's joys and sorrows, so we're going to start with joy. So I invite you to type into the chat or speak into this shared space your name or the name of another you wish to be remembered in joy.
Bob and I will be celebrating our 59th anniversary Wednesday.
Oh, Bob, yeah. Bob and Betsy sharing their 59th wedding anniversary on Wednesday.
Tomorrow, married 24 years ago to Elle in this room.
Oh, Elle and Michael married 24 years. Tomorrow? Wow.
Learning about sage at the Indian Center.
Oh, learning about sage at the Indian Center.
We have a couple joys online. Denise Dixon says Linda, and our church says BJ.
Anil?
Anil?
Sharing joy and gratitude for all of the sun dancers right now who may be involved in their Humblechuk Vision Quest ceremonies. Please keep them in your prayers as they fast and they live and sleep outdoors for a couple of days. And prayers and gratitude for the sun dancers who will be engaging in that very difficult and beautiful ceremony now and in the coming weeks.
Joy for the sun dancers. She said a lot more than that, but I'm not sure that I can remember all of it. But everybody here in the room heard her. Thank you, Erin. The summer encampments are so hot, so we'll hold everybody close to our heart. Anybody else with the joy? Anything else, Jason?
Not yet.
My granddaughter Caitlin will be starting driving lessons next week.
Oh.
Lincoln beware.
Lincoln Beware, Jim's granddaughter?
Yeah.
Kaylin? Caitlin.
Is that a joy or a sorrow?
Yeah. The question is whether her driving is a joy or a sorrow. So, Yeah, freedom. I hope you, I invite you now to type into the chat or speak into this shared space your name or the name of another you wish to be remembered in sorrow. America.
Victims of yesterday's shooting.
Yeah, victims of yesterday's shooting.
The family of Mike Haskins.
The family of Mike Haskins. Wendy. Myron.
The family of Charlene Sedlacek.
The family of Charlene Sedlacek. Nicholas. Ora Lee. Jamie.
There's a sorrow online from Denise Dixon, sorrow for Linda.
The family of Heidi and Tom Puccini.
The family of Heidi and Tom Puccini. Puccini.
I have a sorrow online from Erica Rios, sorrow for the family of Bob Finley.
We know too that there are some joys and sorrows that are yet unspoken but still deeply felt. Let us hold a moment of silence for everything unspoken. Thank you for your presence. Our next song, we usually sit, but we're inviting everybody to stand if you're able to sing Love Will Guide Us. It is number 131 in the gray hymnal.
Remembered. Each week we take up a collection to support the work of our church and our partners in the community. We do this because just as we all grow from our participation in the community, we all give back through our time, our talents, and our treasure. As the song plays, the usher will pass our offering plates. By the way, you can also give by texting UC Lincoln and the amount to 73256. That's UCL Lincoln and the amount to 73256. The offering will now be gratefully received.
Oyate wajila kinajipo. Oyate wajila kinajipo. Oyate wajila kinajipo. Makaan hetni najitelo. Makaan hetni najitelo. Makaan hetni najitelo. Hey, hey, oyate wajila kinajipo. Oyate wajila kinajipo. Oyate wajila kinajipo. Makaan hetni najitelo. Makaan hetni najitelo. Makaan hetni najitelo. Hey, hey, oyate wajila kinajipo. Oyate wajila kinajipo. Oyate wajila kinajipo. Makaan hetni najitelo. Makaan hetni najitelo. Makaan hetni najitelo. Hey, hey, oyate wajila kinajipo. Oyate wajila kinajipo. Oyate wajila kinajipo. Makaan hetni najitelo. Makaan hetni najitelo. Makaan hetni najitelo. Hey, hey,
The old ones say that at one time all of creation spoke the same language. The plants could communicate with the finned ones, the four-leggeds could speak with the trees, the stones could talk with the wind, and even the most dependent, most pitiful part of creation, the two-leggeds, or as we have come to call ourselves, the humans, could also speak with the other parts of creation. All existed in harmony. The plant, the animal, and the elements of the four directions, all existence, all knew that if the two-leggeds were to survive, they would need help. The animals gave of themselves, willingly sacrificing so that the humans could have food. They knew that their skins were much better suited for survival than that of the humans, so they allowed their skins to be taken and used for clothing and shelter. The finned ones, the flyers, and the crawlers also allowed themselves to be used by the humans to ensure their survival. The plant people, the standing people, trees, and the stone people, rocks, freely gave of themselves so that the humans had what they needed for food, clothing, and shelter. An agreement was forged that the two-leggeds would ask permission for these gifts, give thanks for the sacrifice, and take no more than they needed. And so it was good. But then the two-leggeds started growing in numbers and began to feel themselves more important than the rest of creation. They began to believe that the web of life revolved around them, ignoring the fact that they were just one small part of the circle. The two-leggeds began to kill without asking for permission. They began to take more than they needed. They ceased to give thanks. all parts of the agreement were broken. The great animal councils banded together to determine what they should do to right these wrongs. They needed to protect themselves from destruction and eradication. And so it was decreed by the council, if one of their clan was killed by the two-leggeds and thanks was not given for the sacrifice, the chief animal spirit would afflict the disrespectful killer with a devastating disease. The plants were distressed and said to the animals, "They wrong us too. They dig us up, trample us, burn us out, and don't even listen when we try to tell them what we can do to help them. Yet we feel compassion for the two-leggeds. Man struggles to realize his place in the web of creation, and he cannot learn if he is wiped out by disease. Man needs our help, so for every disease you animals bring to them, we, the plant people, will give them a cure. All the two-leggeds have to do is listen when we talk to them."
Widow, big brother. Hey, honey, Weshte, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Osio Nagada, Aaron Por, Dagwado, Jijalagi, Widow. Hello, everyone. My name is Aaron Por, and I'm a citizen of Cherokee Nation. Thank you for welcoming me here today, and a special thank you to Judy Hart and Mary Kay Stillwell for inviting me. Mitakiase, mitakuye oyasin, a Lakota phrase heard at ceremonies and gatherings, meaning all my relations. When spoken by a person at ceremony, it can indicate that a person is about to speak or is now done speaking. It's a way to acknowledge that we are speaking to everyone and that we are kin. When I say everyone, I mean everyone. The human people who are present and not present, the rock people, the plant people, the little buzzing flies and crawling ants, the spirits of the land who may be present or nearby, and the healing plants who sacrificed themselves to help us with their medicine. Everyone, all my relations, mitakiase. That phrase can also be translated to, we are all related. And it's this phrase that changed my life and what I'd like to speak about today. Though I may share some seemingly random things in this sermon, trust me, it's all related. Oh, thank you for laughing. So this morning, my brother Weston shared some Cherokee stories with you all. You heard about how Water Spider delivered fire to all of us and how plants came together to save us with their medicine. What my brother could also tell you is that I used to be deathly afraid of spiders. I would run away screaming and crying if one was near me. Now, I don't think that's so rare of an experience. I mean, let's just think about it. Where did those feelings of fear come from? And why was I okay with having people kill spiders for me? Okay, sure, there may be a part of my evolutionary code in my DNA that tells me to be aware or to use caution when I see a spider. But let's also think about that negative PR campaign spiders have had to endure, at least in the dominant US culture for generations. They've been categorized as creepy crawlies. Hollywood loves to terrify us with movies about giant versions of them. And we Nebraskans love to regale one another with stories about our close encounters with the dreaded brown recluse. Of course, I was afraid of them, and it wasn't hard for me to have other people kill them on my behalf. Then things started to shift in me. First, I heard that phrase, all my relations. And it resonated so deeply within me, like a singing bowl that shook something loose inside of me and called my attention to that space. Secondly, I heard the Cherokee story of the first fire. It changed the story in my head about spiders. Rather than creepy, crawly, hairy harbingers of death, I realized we are alive and warm because of a spider. And that spider is my relative. Whoa! I love them, and I am so grateful. So you see, there was a pretty radical shift that happened inside of me. Years of suddenly became aw. And I realized my entire mindset had shifted and that I was relating to the world differently. This shift happened in my life about 4 or 5 years ago. Not long at all in the grand scheme of things, but the timing was divine. It was around then that I started my master's program for mental health counseling. And it was at that time I met my sister friend Felicia, a member of the Ponca tribe of Nebraska and a fierce advocate for the restoration of traditional lifeways and uplifting of indigenous healing modalities. Together, we founded the Intertribal Medicine Collective, a grassroots organization dedicated to expanding access to traditional medicine. There was also a global pandemic happening and a historic civil uprising. It was a time of extraordinary transition, of reevaluating systems and relationships, of facades crumbling, of challenging past paradigms, and of imagining better futures. It was also at that time I started working with medicine plants. I heard the Cherokee story of origin and disease, or the Cherokee origin story of disease and medicine. I attended Lakota Inipi ceremonies and Sundance ceremonies and Cherokee stomp dance ceremonies. In all of these spaces, kinship and creator were the common threads, or as the recently deceased, beloved Cherokee medicine man Crosland Smith would say, spirit and love. Spirit and love. We are all related. Those teachings from Cherokees and Lakotas changed me. I was looking at the world through a different lens, with a different mindset, and I felt better. I noticed that feeling. So, like any good counseling grad student, I did a lot of reflecting. I strived to notice and name those new thoughts and feelings flowing from this kinship mindset. I felt joy from understanding that love is abundant. It's everywhere, flowing nonstop inside of us and in the space between all of us. I felt safe knowing that I will always be surrounded by loving, caring relatives, especially when I'm outside in nature. I felt inspired to know more about my relatives, plants, neighbors, animals, everyone and anyone. No, this didn't mean that I was running up to strangers on the street and giving them hugs and exchanging life stories. But it did mean that I no longer saw anyone as a stranger. I saw everyone as a relative. Just one I hadn't yet, or even might not get the chance to know. And it meant that I loved them. Not for who they are or aren't, not for what they did or didn't do, just because we're all related. They are my kin, and we are connected through spirit, through Creator, through God. I also strive to notice and name the feelings and thoughts associated with my old mindset. I felt fear of the unknown, and even hatred stemming from that fear. Ignorant, fear-based hatred that enabled me to be okay with violence, even death, just to spare myself from the discomfort of that fear. Okay, yes, I'm still referring to my spider fear, but I can extrapolate that out and see it play out on a societal scale. Fear of people who are different from me, fear of being alone, anger with people I disagreed with, hatred towards people that stood on the opposite side of a political issue as me, complacent with the amount of violence happening all over the world and all over our country, so long as it was elsewhere and not in my backyard. Fear, anger, hatred, complacency. Yikes. So where did that all come from? How did it get all over me? And how did it get into so many of us Americans? And how is it bolstered and promulgated today? let's think about some axioms and phrases that are commonly heard in our society, found in our cultural mythology, or have even been public policy. Rugged individualism, whites only, America first, us versus them, boys versus girls, illegal aliens, US citizens. This land is my land. We're number one. The battle of the sexes. Kill the Indian, save the man. God bless America. Whether the axiom is specific policy from the past or the present, one thing is for certain. We've all grown up in a society, this society, that has made us think that being separate from one another is good. It was baked in. It was normalized. And it's hard to question what's normal. It just is. And it's not until we're introduced to alternative ideas do we start to question dominant narratives. So I guess that's what I experienced then. I was given an alternative to the divisive individualism and the mindset that kept me separate from my relatives. I went from fear, anger, hatred, and complacency with violence to joy, safety, and inspired to connect. Quite the dramatic shift. And the shift continues to happen inside of me. It takes a long time to unlearn the things we've spent lifetimes learning. And I'm still in the process of freeing myself from those mindsets that separate us. Though this mindset of kinship is new to me, it feels absolutely liberating. It feels like healing. Let me tell you, as a counselor and as a ceremonial person, healing is the goal. Healing is the prayer. Not just healing for me, for there is no me, really. There's only us. Me that is made up of thousands of ancestors, of countless encounters with relatives who have shaped me. Me who exists within a matrix of relationships. Me who is connected to each and every one of you through spirit and through love. So now you know a little bit about my story and how I was taught a new way to look at the world. A way that was actually ancient and deeply healing. Of course, I couldn't just keep that to myself. I thought, okay, now it's my turn to be that compassionate relative that shares what I've been taught. I was so blessed to receive those teachings. Now it's my responsibility to keep that going. But how? How do we heal the mindsets that separate us, especially when they're so pervasive and they go so deep? Well, I don't know, but I have ideas. First of all, you have to want it. You have to want to receive an alternative viewpoint. You have to be the one who wants to change. It can't come from somewhere outside of yourself. It has to come from within. It's when we're internally motivated that we can truly begin to change. For me, my change happened when I began looking for my ancestors. I wanted to know what it meant to be a Cherokee person. What did Cherokees believe? How did we pray? What were our values? I looked to my ancestors, and I learned from people who shared teachings from their ancestors. Maybe folks could look to their ancestors, to the ones that carried cultural teachings from before the United States existed, or explore the teachings from elders from around the world. There you may find alternative ideas, new lenses, different mindsets from the ones we were raised in here in the US. And once we have options, we can make better informed choices. And I want to recognize that I'm probably preaching to the choir here. As Unitarian Universalists, you embrace diverse teachings. You are open to many ways of being and knowing. But once we've been given a new lens, there's still the matter of using it, applying it in our lives, and embodying it every day. To think through how to do that, I've been reflecting on my training as a mental health counselor. When a client comes to therapy, they typically have a challenge that they are facing in their life, a pain point, or a desire for change. Not everyone comes to us internally motivated or ready for change, but if they do, or when they get there, that's when the real work begins. And we can use a variety of modalities, theories, interventions, and activities to support that change work. So how many of you have heard of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT? Hey, all right, quite a few. It's currently the most commonly used evidence-based practice in the mental health field. It was developed by Dr. Aaron Beck in the 1960s, and it's a way to recognize and change unhealthy thinking processes. It's gone through several evolutions. We've had second and third wave CBT, and now even mindfulness as a therapeutic intervention falls under the CBT umbrella. When I say it helps to recognize and change unhealthy thinking processes, I'm talking about things like black and white thinking, when we know we live in a world of gray area and nuance, or catastrophizing when we experience a negative event and we think the whole world is going to end. These processes aren't bad. The person is not bad for thinking that way, but these ways of thinking might be harmful to themselves or to others. And if a person comes to us demonstrating some unhealthy thinking patterns and indicates that they want to change, then we do what's called some psychoeducation. We teach them about the process of therapy. In this case, I'm talking about cognitive behavioral therapy, and then we dive in. I realized that my mindset shift kind of aligned with CBT. So I'll share that with you. And I'll start where I start with my clients, which is some psychoeducation. An important part of cognitive behavioral therapy is something called the CBT triangle, okay? This is a teaching tool to help people understand the interconnected nature of thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. In the CBT triangle, thoughts are at one point, feelings are at another, and behaviors at the third point. We teach people that our thoughts impact our emotions, which then influence our behaviors, which then reinforce our thoughts. You see, it's a cycle. Thoughts, emotions, behavior. Thoughts, emotions, behavior. What I'm thinking will impact how I feel. And that will have an effect on how I act. And that, how I behave, will reinforce my original thought. Now, if I wanted to change a behavior, I would probably need to change how I feel. And to do that, I'd need to change my mind. I'd need to change the thought. So applied to our current topic of shifting mindsets, I can say that I used to think that we humans were the only beings that really mattered in this world. That thought led me to feel disregard or disdain for non-human relatives. Let's say spiders. That feeling of disdain led me to behave in a way that harmed spiders. And that behavior of demeaning or degrading spiders reinforced the thought that humans were on a different level and we mattered more than non-humans. But after receiving the Cherokee and Lakota teachings I mentioned earlier, especially the story of the first fire, the story of the origin of disease and medicine, and the worldview tied to the phrase, all my relations, I realized I needed to change how I acted towards other beings. That meant I needed to change how I felt. And it needed to start with how I thought about them. Now, the thought is, I am related to all beings. The feeling from that thought for me is love and gratitude. And the behavior is taking action to care for and demonstrate my gratitude for my non-human relatives. An important part of this process is noticing the former thinking processes and practicing the new one. For me, it was noticing the mindset of disconnection and replacing it with a mindset of kinship, of relationship. And you know what they say, practice makes perfect. So it's at this time that I'd like to invite you all to practice with me. We're going to practice noticing and shifting our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors while sharing some tea. So I'm going to ask my family members, my mom Amy, my husband Spencer, my brother Weston, and my sister-in-law Marcy, to come hand out some tea to everyone. Go right ahead, helpers. Wood dough. We're going to do it Whoville style, so they're just going to pass it. You're going to pass it on down your row, okay? Feel free to sing the Who song if you want. Who, exactly. Now, if you're watching from home, I want to invite you to use any beverage that you have either with you, whether you're drinking coffee at home or there's a glass of water, or you could take this time to go get a glass of water. Maybe you have a cup of tea already beside you. So when you receive your tea, just hold it in your hands. Don't drink it yet, okay? We're going to practice mindfulness with this tea, which is another thing that has helped me to shift my thinking and my way of being in this world. So what you'll be receiving is some sage tea that has been lightly sweetened with agave. If you're not interested in trying that, or are unable to drink that, maybe raise your hand and we can get you little cups with water so you can still practice that. Does anybody need a cup of just water? Okay. So, as the tray is getting passed around, I'll tell you a little bit about this tea. This tea is made with water, dried sage, agave, and it's coming to you in a biodegradable cup made out of corn. So in your hand, or soon to be in your hand if you're here in person, you will be holding 4 relatives: water, sage, agave, corn. And if you have the water cup, then you're holding 2 relatives, water and corn. And if you're at home and maybe you're drinking coffee out of a mug, then you're holding coffee and probably some clay, which is part of our Mother Earth, soil. Okay? So I want you to think back to that story that my brother read for you, the Cherokee story of the origin of disease and medicine. And remember that water is life, water is medicine, and sage is a powerful and sacred medicine for many indigenous people. Sage tea has many, many, many medicinal components, many healing factors. Thank you, Widow. I'll just give you a little cliff notes. Sage tea can help soothe a sore throat, help fight off infection. It can contribute to healthy brain function and ease the discomfort of menopause. It can do a lot more, but let's just suffice to say this is a very helpful and powerful plant relative. The sage in this tea sacrificed themselves for you, for your healing. Acknowledge that within yourself when you receive that tea. Now, I think we're getting close. I'll tell you also a little bit about mindfulness. Mindfulness is another practice, and it's been practiced all over the world, but it's a way for us to come to the present moment, to be here, now, non-judgmentally, and to let our brains rest. I know you all have a million things on your mind, lots of things to do, but you know what? Your brain needs to rest from time to time. Those thoughts, let's put them down, okay? And mindfulness is a great way to practice that. And we do that by letting those thoughts rest and coming to the present moment with our bodies, using our 5 senses, okay? I like to practice what's called relational mindfulness. Now, I don't know, maybe that's made up somewhere else, but I haven't heard of it, so trademark that. A mindfulness practice, this is what I call a mindfulness practice that incorporates the teachings that we're all related to our plant relatives and those plant relatives are worthy of our love and gratitude. Okay, thank you so much, family members, for passing out the tea. Now, I hope you have the tea in your hands. Okay, first and foremost, I want to invite you to greet your relatives and acknowledge their sacrifice so that you can have this tea. You can do that in any way you want. To me, I typically say, oh, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for your sacrifice. I love you. Something like that. Say it in your own way, okay? And now, once you kind of relate to that relative and see this tea, this sage tea, as a relative, then you can go ahead and start your mindfulness practice. Let's first just start by taking a deep breath. Mindfulness asks us to tap into our 5 senses: sight, sound, touch, smell, taste, or whatever you are able to access from those. First of all, go ahead and either just touch the cup and notice how it feels. Say in your mind or out loud what it feels like to hold it in your hand. How does the cup feel? Maybe you want to touch the liquid. Oh, it's a little cool. You feel the shape. You feel the weight. Maybe you look at it. You see the amber color. You see the light moving through the water. You see the water moving. Maybe you want to smell it. Oh, it's got a very light sage and agave smell. Finally, I'm going to invite you to bring the cup to your lips and go ahead and tip the tea into your mouth. Don't swallow yet. Just taste it. Feel it move around in your mouth, over your tongue. What does it taste like? What does it feel like? Did you hear a sound when you opened your mouth or when you brought it into your body? Swallow it. What did that sound like? What did that feel like? Call it out. Feel free to say it in your head or out loud. The more we call out the sensorial experience, the more our thoughts about other things stay away. Okay? So you drink your sage tea. You take that deep breath again, continue to breathe deeply, and you feel that relative joining you in your body. I want you to try and feel the tea making its journey down your asparagus. There's also asparagus in here. No, I'm kidding. Down your esophagus. And into your tummy. I want you to feel that healing relative joining you, giving you medicine, giving you life. Feel that water giving you life. Mini Wachoni. So, as you finish your tea, maybe you can say thank you again. But say thank you to the relative who's inside of you, who has now joined you. Say thank you, relative. Thank you for your sacrifice. Take that deep breath. So thank you all for doing with me. You just took time to sit with a plant relative, to regard them as a being with a spirit. Maybe that was a new experience for you. Maybe it wasn't. What I hope I was able to demonstrate is that we can learn from indigenous worldviews. We can change our thoughts about something like a cup of tea. We can change how we feel about that cup of tea. And then we can change how we drink that cup of tea. Remember, thoughts, feelings, behaviors. Underneath those simple changes is a profound shift. A shifting from a mindset of disconnection to one of kinship. And hopefully you can continue to do that and practice feeling kinship with all beings here on earth, because we are connected to each other through spirit and love. We are all related. Mitakiase.
you so much, Aaron, and thank you, everyone, who helped with the tea ceremony. We really appreciate it. Oh, yes, the mic. Well, it gives me the opportunity to repeat my thank you and our gratitude for your coming to our service this morning. Let's join together, standing in body and spirit, 1017, our hymn, Building a New Way. Our closing words today are by Frederick E. Gills. May the love that overcomes all differences, that heals all wounds, that puts to flight all fears, that reconciles all who are separated, be with us and among us, now and always. Wado, relatives.
Đã qua đâu hoa ca này hang ina ước đã đã lê ni đi na đã để sto te đã ski ha i de quay na sa ale o hey ai o da la hi asta ư da hi ka na ga chi ye yo hi to hi te chi ha ang quanta jakali sori judu dolana ase akola akilo histi nagini losa aleluya la chidas ka kliko jiwo ye nina Jaskina Gongo Aliste at the way you got low ye honi he dejido ia say no Jaskina uanisti ike sana. I say no guru guti une sana he. The gari day Jahasina Adante. I say no me guru guti une sana gaisa. God, you gonna win. I'm a dig a soul still. Slashla dega la sanui ale degieska elesla ayokli hasty kana hasty nusta gahida na gota iasta nogu akichi ale akido da ale tali joja dala ernana gida iya uyashla istigunana Ayagesa what you see it dini gastino aniso shlagona jasi da go altiski yigi gala awatisa yage hey I say no ni gurukuti une sadahi the gani day jahasina adante di I say no ni you gonna win. I'm a dig a soul stay.